Alrighty. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. It's a hard day. It's a hard day in the city, but nevertheless, we here. We live. We coming to you with fire today. That's why you know how the enemy plays. You know how the enemy plays. But nevertheless, I'm bringing you GA for Justice, that community activist that take a match and make a forest fire. I'm talking about the one and only Georgia Allen. Where you at?
Hey there, hey there. How are you, Henderson?
I was okay for an hour trying to get connected back to the internet. You know, I keep trying to tell the people the devil is real.
Look, we are on fire. We've been out before City Council on Tuesday night. We were out at the town hall on Monday night.
Yeah.
We've been watching what the City Council is saying in their semi-private sessions, but in their afternoon informal sessions. And so we're on fire. We are definitely on fire. The election is over. Last week was now what? The election is over. We're looking at the Voting Rights Act of 1965 and how it pertains to our 10-1 district voting system. And so we are ready.
Yeah, no doubt.
We are ready. So again, thank you so much. I am Georgia F. Allen with GA for Justice each and every Thursday at 12 o'clock noon. As always, we'd like to thank Mr. Henderson Vaughn. Yeah, it is Thursday. We want to thank you, Captain 85, aka the Dream Maker, who has opened up the airwaves so that we can bring our listening audience a simple conversation, a conversation for information, a conversation for correction whenever necessary, as well as a conversation for transformation. I want to use a disclaimer. Most of you are aware that I have worked in the area of civil rights and I have been a community activist for decades. Therefore, the various positions that I may take are mine and mine alone. I do not speak on behalf of any groups or any organization. As always, I like to have speak to a principle of a Kwanzaa principle each and every week. And this week, we're going to stay with Kujichagulia. And you say, well, why Kujichagulia? You've been talking about that for a while because it's self-determination. For those of you who are still going through that mourning process with regards to the previous election, you got to pick yourself up. You got to get back up. You got to get back in the fight. And self-determination allows you to do that. And so I want to say self-determination or Kujichagulia is to define ourselves, name ourselves, create for ourselves, and speak for ourselves, and never allow others to define us or speak for us. So Kujichagulia is our principle this week. It's our self-determination. It's the thing that keeps us focused. It keeps us on point. Our scripture is, let us throw off everything that hinders us and any evil that entangles us and run with perseverance the race that is marked out before us. So self-determination, again, reminds us that we are in a race. We are in a race. We have to be focused on the end line. The topic today is the VRA of 1965, or the Voting Rights Act of 1965, and how it's operating and working in our 10-1 voting system. So we are excited to have our co-host, partner in crime, Miss BERNITA Richardson. You know what? I can't call her a guest, because the two of us have been a team fighting for justice here in the city of Virginia Beach over the last 2 years. BERNITA's background, of course, is in healthcare, but her passion is in people's care. Justice is her middle name. BERNITA serves as a member of the executive committee for the Virginia Beach Ranch NAACP. And again, she is my partner in the fight for justice. So with that said, we want to welcome BERNITA Richardson to the show today. Hello, BERNITA.
Hello, and thank you. I wouldn't have a better partner. Couldn't find a better partner than you. So, thank you for taking me in. And they trying to sneak stuff past us while we're in mourning from the election, but we got to get to work.
Absolutely.
We'll mourn later.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Boy, a lot of stuff has been happening. Had an election, and folks got, boy, they done got all excited and think they're all that and 2 bags of chips. Not
yes,
one,
ma'am.
but
They're
2.
pushing their chest out now.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Can't nobody tell them anything. They're just going to do whatever they want to do. Well, guess
Yes,
what?
ma'am. We're not
We're not going to have it.
We are not. And you're not going to take me back to where people were before I was born. I'm not going. Only forward.
Exactly.
Upward and onward.
Absolutely. So we're going to have a little conversation about the Voting Rights Act law. You know, we're going to also address the Code of Virginia as it pertains to the Voting Rights Act. And we're going to discuss our city council and how they are blatantly trying to operate against the laws of the land. Even when the city attorney has specifically explained in no uncertain terms that the 10-1 district system is the law of the land.
Right.
He made it very clear. You and I both took a look at the afternoon session. We listened to what he had to say. We listened to what the council members had to say. We listened to what the mayor had to say.
Found out about secret meetings.
Hey. Yeah, they decided they're going to have secret meetings.
I had to come back on the screen on that one. Secrets.
Yeah.
Listen. And nobody, they attended the meeting, but nobody knows who was there.
Right.
Just a bunch of us. Well, who
yeah,
was
a bunch of us.
We don't know.
What bunch was it?
Right. Was it a bunch of oats or was it a honey bunch of oats? We don't know.
Peter Paul.
Nobody knows who was there.
But I love the fact that our representative in District Number 10, Jennifer, Council Member Jennifer Rouse said, well, who were they? What were their names? Who were they?
And they quickly, I don't know, Rosemary, do you know who was there? Can you name them? Nobody could name them.
So this is what we're up against here in the city of Virginia Beach. But guess what? It only fires us up even more. When we know that people are working against our best interests, what do?
Right.
We roll up. Do we roll up our sleeves?
I wouldn't even put on a full sleeve. I put on a 3/4 length sleeve, so I wouldn't have to roll it up. I'm ready.
Yeah. That's right. We come ready, so we don't have to get ready. Exactly. We just plainly stay ready, okay?
We stay
ready. All right. So, Bernita, kind of share with the audience, listening audience today, a little bit about what we've seen take place here in the city of Virginia Beach as it pertains to the Voting Rights Act, as well as it pertains to some of the codes of Virginia. So talk to the audience a little bit about that.
So we all know that the Voting Rights Act of 1965 did happen, and the city was in violation of that Voting Act from 1965 until 2020. 20 or 22? 22. However, in 1994, when they recognized, hey, we're going to need to make a change, they asked the question of all the people here. And they said, yeah, we want a system that is dedicated to single member voting so that our voices can be heard. They went back, took it up to the to the House and the Senate, and they said they don't know what they're talking about. So let's take it back to them again. Let's change the wording. Let's make it confusing for them. And it didn't pass. So then they were able to ignore it for a little while. But then the decennial redistricting happened.
The census that tells us every 10 years you have a census.
And when that happened, they came up with the 10-1 system was adopted. And from there on, that should have been the end of the discussion. The discussion ended with the decennial redistricting plan. Everything else was just procedural.
Absolutely. Everything else was procedure. And the lawyer has said that to them, not one time, not two times, but over and over and over and over again. He has made it very clear. The city attorney of the city of Virginia Beach has specifically explained to them that you have a 10-1 district system.
Right.
And no matter how many times you fight it, no matter how many times you go to court, you cannot change a decennial redistrict system until the next census.
Which isn't happening this year. It's not happening this year.
So it's not going to happen. So you can do as many lawsuits as you want.
Oh, and apparently our city council welcomes wasting money on lawsuits.
Apparently they do. They do.
That was part of the statement. Hey, we're going to get more lawsuits.
If we don't do a referendum. Right. We're going to do a referendum that cannot go into effect because the decennial redistricting plan that took place, that our city council members voted 10-1 to accept. So once they have that vote on the record, it's on the record. That means the city council has adopted the system.
And we know this because we voted in that system twice.
Absolutely.
And regardless of what they do, the next time we vote, we will still be using that 10-1 voting system.
Absolutely. And as the attorney said, what is it that you want me to do?
Right.
Because the judge said that if you do not implement the system, guess what? There will be no elections in the city of Virginia Beach.
Exactly.
So this is the law of the land. This is the system that we have. And if you do not follow the judge orders, then you're not going to have a voting system at all. So you won't vote at all. So those are the options that are on the table.
And it's amazing to me that they almost would rather not vote at all than to not get their way. I don't want anybody in the city to vote if we can't get the super majority that we want.
Right. And what is so interesting is when you read the Voting Rights Act, or you read the Code of Virginia, it's clear. It says in no uncertain terms that you can't have a system that denies people representation.
Right.
That's basically what it boils down to. You cannot have a system that denies residents, taxpayers, citizens representation.
I think maybe the misinterpretation may be that when they think of representation, it's the moneyed interest that they want to have represented that no longer have the power that they had previously.
That's probably it.
That's their interpretation.
Yeah. So only a certain people, it's okay for them to have representation while the other people don't have representation. But once everybody has representation, and that's no matter where you live, because these are smaller districts. And again, what is so good about the system that was put in place, and keep in mind, we had a person from California, someone who was not attached to either political party, to either they were a non-biased person. They weren't biased toward any particular group or anything. Neutral party. Neutral party. Took a look at the city of Virginia Beach and said, okay, if the court system is saying we are going to have to come up with a system that is fair and equal for all people, then they looked at how can we draw districts that will allow groups of people who have been denied representation an opportunity to have representation. Now, keep in mind, it didn't say we were going to have the majority of the representation, because we only get 3 majority minority districts, or majority diverse districts. I like to call them diverse because I don't consider myself a minority. So we got 3 majority diverse districts. We didn't get 7. We didn't even get 6. We got 3. So I'm trying to understand, what's the problem?
Because even in their quote unquote 731 potential plan, that's what we have right now, if you want. It's just that those 3 are not super.
Right. They're not super wards or anything like that. They are small, compact districts, which is what the Voting Rights Act asked for. Is that, can we kind of, get more compact districts so it makes it easier for persons, whoever they are, to run for office.
Right.
And people know that they have an opportunity to get elected to office, because we've seen people who are not the rich of the rich. They're ordinary citizens who care about their city, and they were able to run in districts of all of 48,000 population. Between 33 and 38,000 are a voting age population. Some districts it may be less, some districts it may be more, a voting age population. But also remember, just because someone is a voting age population does not necessarily mean that they are registered voters. So again, you have a smaller group of people that you have to talk to and ask for their vote.
Yes.
One of the council members, Councilmember Rouse, mentioned the fact that she lived in a district number 10, where when she went out to knock on doors, people were like, oh my gosh, a council person, someone who's running for council wants my vote? That's unheard of over here in our community. It's unheard of. And she ran against someone who had over $100,000 while she only had $25,000. She looked back at the money that she was able to raise, and she was able to win an election because she spoke directly to the people and didn't rely on a bunch of money to send out all of these ads and all of these flyers and put postcards in mailboxes and hang those
door knockers
on the door and all. She relied on her ability to talk to people face to face, to meet with them where they are, and won the election. And she didn't just win the election, she whooped.
She did. Which tells you what they really wanted.
Exactly. So the citizens had the opportunity to select the person of their choice. So to me, this is amazing. This is absolutely amazing. So people shouldn't be upset about it. They should be glad that they now have truly one person, one vote, which is really what it was designed to do in the first place. One person, one vote. Not one person, let me buy 500 votes over here in this district and buy another 1,000 votes over in district and another 1,000 over here.
And pay for this candidate who's going to be beholden to me after the election to do what it is I want, because I put them there.
Exactly. And the other thing that I liked about what Councilmember Rouse said, she said, help me to understand why these people need $100,000 to run for a $28,000 job.
That's key right there. Yep.
Let's talk about that for a moment, Sister BERNITA, because I know you got some words about somebody
pushing their money in to have undue influence on the population of the area, the community, as well as who speaks for that community. I don't like it. Keep your money in your pocket.
Absolutely.
And let me vote for who I want.
Absolutely. So they're going to go into communities they have absolutely no interest in whatsoever. They're not
other than control. They won't control.
other than control. They are not interested in whether or not that community have traffic lights or whether or not that community roads are paved and potholes are filled. They're not interested in whether or not that community has parks or that the public works even comes through that community and cut the grass in the medium strip.
Right.
They're not concerned about any of that. But
more or less running water, which some communities have been able to get since they now have a council person whom they know is accountable to them and to their area. But I went back to my some of the things I said on Tuesday, and I said we don't want, nor do we appreciate individuals living in our respective districts who don't live, in our respective districts, selecting, electing, finding, controlling, manipulating, exploiting, yielding undue influence over, choreographing, and misrepresenting what it is we want. We know what we want.
Absolutely.
And that's the other thing that really bothers me. Stop acting like we don't understand. We comprehend very well.
Absolutely. I know we have one council member. What's the name? what's that council member name that keeps saying people don't understand and that this was confusing?
Henley.
Right. What was confusing about you spending money on a lawsuit that cost over $1 million? What was confusing about that? Because that's what you did. You spent over $1 million. So were you confused?
And I keep thinking about the people we could have helped with that million versus fighting over a fight that's already won.
Henderson, was you confused? You knew that was $1 million, right?
Right. I had to come back in because they just say stuff like they don't know what we're saying. I'm just gonna say, well, what was the people that was there to argue against it?
Right.
I mean,
what was it? Two people.
One of whom got elected due to the 10-1 system. And
right, but when they was advocated for the 10-1 system, everywhere you went, it was 50, 100 or more people there. Now you're saying what the people
was supportive of the 10-1 system.
That's what I'm saying. And all of a sudden,
it's confusing. Everybody's confused. Who's confused? I'm not confused. Are you confused?
Not at all. Not at all.
Let me get.
I mean, I'm sitting here going, you keep saying it's so confusing. Who is it confusing for? Because it wasn't confusing to anybody that I've talked with.
Maybe it's because I'm not originally from here. That is not confusing to me. But I've not spoken to anyone who is confused. The confusion is, why are we still having to discuss this? Why are we still having to fight for this? What is the problem? Because it is the law of the land.
Absolutely. It's the law of the land. And I don't understand why they feel like it's confusing, because guess what? It was adopted. See, when you vote, for those who are brand new to city council, when the policy is put before you and you are asked, do you accept the 10-1 district system, ladies and gentlemen of the city council? And you vote 10-1 to adopt, put it in the legislative package, send it up to Richmond to our General Assembly, and then once it gets there, both sides, both the House and the Senate, vote. I think in one was unanimous. In one house, only 2 people didn't vote for it.
Correct.
Only 2.
But but let's visit that for a second, because there was some controversy that came out in the informal and formal session about what happened when it was sent up last year. people who are paid to do a job are expected to do that job.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas apparently someone thought that they could do better than what they were told to do
Mm-hmm.
and went up there on their own
Mm-hmm.
to speak against
In
what they
20
were sent to do.
in 2021
Mm-hmm.
or 2022,
Mm-hmm.
in 2022, the other legislative aide took the package that the city council member had
Mm-hmm.
voted to ratify.
Mm-hmm.
It was placed in the legislative package of all the different things that the city of Virginia Beach wanted, of which the 10-1 member district was
Mm-hmm.
part of that package. And so they take it up there, give it to the legislators. The legislators in committee votes 9-0.
Right.
Well, they decided, well, let me talk to them offline or whatever and try to get some of them to change their mind.
Mm-hmm.
And so then the council says, well, two of the people said that they don't want it. So why was that? Did you give them the facts? Did you tell them that it was supported by 10 members?
Mm-hmm.
Which one of the members was the mayor himself?
Exactly.
There was just one outlier. One outlier. And that outlier says that they want a referendum. I think that that's the only way that the people can have a voice. Well, if that was
she's
the only
still
way,
confused, and she is confused.
not the people. The people
I'm trying to say we're confused. It's you.
Right.
Your interests did not move forward. You did not have the voice you thought you had, and you just don't like the way it's set up and it's working out right now.
Mm-hmm.
There's no confusion. No.
The people are not confused. All right, we're going to take a quick break and do some announcements, acknowledgments, commemorations. The month of November is National Diabetes Awareness Month and also National Native American Month. And guess what? We got a Native American that just joined City Council because he announced to all of us that he was Native American. But he also made it clear to us that didn't anybody know whether he was white or what he was. They didn't know whether he was male or female. Well, that's the way it's supposed to work, sir. The 10-1 district system, that's the way it's supposed to work.
But yet, he also stated that he was not in agreement of 10-1. Sir, how do you think you got in office?
Thank you. You're not in agreement with the system that allowed you to be able to run in a district.
I really feel like sometimes I'm being punked. Like I keep waiting for Ashton Kutcher to run out and say, "You've been punked," because the arguments just aren't there. Well, we're not going to send this up because the governor's going to veto it. That's not, you do your job, let him do his job.
Correct.
Oh, we're not going to do this because people are suing. Mm-hmm. You're about to have more lawsuits now.
Absolutely. So the other thing is November 9th, 1731, Benjamin Banneker was born. He was a scientist and an inventor. On November 11th, look, that's what happens with typos. November 11th, 1881, I think.
Well, why are you looking that up? I just want to say Benjamin Banneker is the one who laid out the system for the roads in D.C.
Yes, he did.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay, let me make sure I got this right. I did Benjamin Banneker, and then I have 1831. Wow, that was 100 years later, huh? Nat Turner was executed after leading a slave revolt in Southampton County, where? Virginia.
That's not too far from where I grew up.
Also, on November the 9th in 1868, guess what? Howard University Medical School opens its doors. And then November the 7th in 1876, Meharry Medical College was founded at Central Tennessee College.
Yes.
Wow. That's some fantastic stuff took place in November.
Yes, ma'am.
So we want to recognize those persons who put themselves on the line, those people that were in those colleges and universities and understood the value of having Black doctors, okay, to service our community rather than be placed in these facilities that really didn't care about us. So having Howard University Medical School and Meharry Medical College all the way back to 1876 and 1868, that's phenomenal. That is absolutely phenomenal. So I always like to take some time out on my show each and every week to take a moment just to remind us of all the things that we have accomplished. So for those of you who are out there and you are still in mourning and you're like, oh man, we wanted to win more races, we wanted to control this, we wanted to control that, I got some exciting news. On school board, we picked up 4 seats.
Yeah.
Hey, picked up 4 seats and again, we look for people to represent our interests. They may be white, they may be brown, they may be Black, they may be from different cultures, background, diversities, but we needed people that would represent our interests because 2 years ago, we had a flood of folks that said, oh, you're going to teach our kids CRT. Oh my gosh. And I'm trying to figure out what is wrong with the country's real truth. What's wrong with
it's been pushed over so long. They're so used to trying to change it to make it his story instead of history.
Exactly. And so CRT, while people call it critical race theory, I don't see anything wrong with the country's real truth. All of it. Okay. I don't see a darn thing wrong with that. So I'm excited that you're here with me today to talk about our city and talk about how important it is to have the Voting Rights Act implemented. Because keep in mind, what we are actually implementing is really Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act.
Correct.
Okay. And Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act allow us to make sure that no one's rights is that everyone have the right to vote. Okay. And it also protects us, those of us who are part of a protected class. And that's critically important as well. And we want to assure that there's no dilution of our votes. We want to ensure that there's the abridgment of the voting rights of voters who are members of a protected class, that we want to make sure that stays in effect. Yes. And with the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which a lot of people don't understand what it was all about, when we had the ability to have Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act, that meant that we could really monitor what people were doing. So when we lost that portion of the Voting Rights Act, all of these states who were able to, who were trying to prevent Black people from voting, who were doing things such as making sure that in a Black community, they may have one place that they could go to and vote, or they may change where they voted and move the voting precinct just slightly out of the area where the majority of the Black people lived and all. Well, with Section 5, so that people don't forget what the power of Section 5 was, in order for them to do those things, they had to check, in our case, with the NAACP. I remember I was president of the NAACP when they were in the process of changing a voting precinct, but they were changing it to Ebenezer Baptist Church. So I got a chance to say to the city of Virginia Beach that we were okay with putting a precinct at Ebenezer Baptist Church. So that was significant. You know,
Absolutely.
if there wasn't someone that was watching what was going on, instead of using Ebenezer Baptist Church, they could have moved it down the street to some other church that wasn't in our community.
Yes, please.
And so that's how powerful Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act was. While Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, it is the section that prevents the denial of the abridgment of the right to vote on account of race, creed, color, or anything. And so what we wanted to do is make sure that Section 2 stayed into effect. Some of you may want to know, well, why did they get rid of Section 5? It was Shelby v. Holder that caused us to lose Section 4 of the Voting Rights Act. And Section 4 was Section 4B, which worked in conjunction with Section 5. So it wasn't a standalone situation. It worked in conjunction with the other part of the Voting Rights Act. But losing that section, ultimately, we lost the ability to be able to oversee changes. That's why down in Georgia, when they say there will be no water brought to the polls, if Section 4B of the Voting Rights Act was still in effect, along with Section 5, the city and the civil rights organizations could take a look at that and say, no, we have seniors that come here, so they are allowed to have a chair. We have persons with other types of disabilities. Yes, they're allowed to have a chair. If they're going to be outside, you could put in effect, if they're going to be outside longer than 30 minutes, yes, anyone standing in line for longer than 30 minutes should be able to have access to water, and we do not consider that buying a vote.
Correct.
Okay, so those are the type of things for those of you who are out there listening as to why we still need a civil rights organization, why we still need the NAACP, is because those are the type of things that we take a look at to prevent someone's rights from being violated. Does that make sense?
Makes sense to me.
What she said. It's confusing. Was that confusing?
Not at all. I still understand.
You understand? All right. Okay. So we want to let you know that the reason why we have the 10-1 district system is because someone was willing to go to court to sue the city of Virginia Beach so that we could ensure that we had an equal playing field or a fairer playing field. And that means that when you have persons who are in smaller districts, and keep in mind, the city of Virginia Beach has over 464,000 residents. That includes children, okay?
That's right.
I almost said women and children because for a long time, women did not have the right to vote. For a long time, if you were not a landowner, you did not have the right to vote. If you were not a white male, you did not have the right to vote. So keep in mind, voting.
Don't forget that money. It used to cost money to vote, you know. And even with the poll tax, it wasn't just that year's poll tax. You had to pay all previous years' poll taxes to be able to vote.
Yep. So if a poll tax was $2 and you only made $2 a day and
week, some people were making that a week.
Yes, and some were making it per week. And you go back and you say, okay, I am 30 years old. The voting age back then was 21.
Right.
So minus 21 from 30,
9
You come up with
years.
9 years. And if you're only making $2 a week and multiply 9 times 2, that means you got to come up with $18, which $2 a week was really making sure we had food on the table, making sure
You had a roof.
you had a roof over your head.
Mm-hmm.
All of that came into place with $2 a week.
Mm-hmm.
And $2 a week times 4, that means you only had $8 a month. And they're asking you for $18. $18 for 9 years when you were not able to vote, but now you have the right to vote. But the poll tax tells you that you got to pay $2, not only for the vote today, but for all those other years. And if you're in a city like Virginia, a Commonwealth like Virginia, and you have elections every single solitary year, I'm sure they compounded that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
They compounded it by all the different elections. Yes.
But you know what?
Go
if
ahead.
your granddaddy was able to vote, you could vote too.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't affect us, though.
That did not affect us because we didn't have a grandfather clause.
We were in slavery.
Exactly.
Okay, so the generation before that was enslaved, and they definitely couldn't vote.
Absolutely.
But anyway, I digress.
So for those of you who do not understand how important the Voting Rights Act of 1965 was and how it connects to the 10-1 voting system here in the city of Virginia Beach, I hope that kind of helped educate you a little bit. And again, in a city our size, having a large population, that means what? We got to have precincts so people have someplace to go.
Right.
That means that's 108 precincts.
Yes.
And if you're voting citywide, on average, you need 4 persons per precinct.
Absolutely.
On average. But what happens if somebody gets sick? If you didn't have, some extra people,
mm-hmm.
you got a slot that's not going to be covered.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why this is so very important. For those of you who are listening, that is why this is so very important. Now, we heard some rumors about someone that might want to do a referendum. You want to talk to referendums and how?
It doesn't even apply to this.
Thank you.
You cannot do it.
You can't do
because
it.
10-1 is the law.
No, 10-1 is the law.
Period.
And regardless of who wants to do a referendum, whether someone from your own community thinks, well, we'll just go and do a referendum and we'll get our General Assembly members to work along with us, etc. You don't want to do a referendum. And why not? Because the population is still the same. There's a majority and there's a non-majority group of people.
They may need to go back and read House Bill 2128. Because that was the general law change from the 10-year decennial redistricting. And it didn't require a majority, but read it and understand it. Understand it. 10-1 is law.
Exactly.
Stop playing.
Law.
Stop playing.
Law. It's law. It's law on the state level. It's law locally. It's law federally. The federal judge said you will change the way you vote because it's obvious that the way the system is set up, it is discriminatory.
That part right there.
It's discriminatory.
So since the federal judge said that, the fact that they want to keep going back makes me feel like they want to go back to a discriminatory time.
Absolutely.
Like you want to suppress my vote. Belittle what I say I want. Maybe I'm not. I understand. I'm going to say that again. I understand.
We all understand.
Stop playing.
We understand. And so anybody out there that says that the people don't understand, we had someone from a community that spoke on Tuesday night that was from an area that all around her, when we were becoming a city, the city somehow found money to put in water lines
Right.
for everybody around her, but couldn't put water lines in for her area off of Great Neck Road.
Mm-hmm.
When we became a city in 1963, the city somehow found ways to put in water all around other areas, but did not put water in a place called Burton Station.
Right.
Okay. The city, even though the federal government sent a mandate down saying that we're going to provide you with this money, and the first community that should get running water is Burton Station, our city. So there may be another lawsuit right there because you misused federal dollars. So let's start talking about how important having representation is.
Mm-hmm.
So we do, that is in district number 4.
Yes,
But we
ma'am.
may need our city council member to go back and pull the records on the fact that this city, if they want to fight, because you and I, we love a good fight.
Don't we?
What Vernon John say? If you see a good fight, get in it.
Mm-hmm.
He said, get in it.
It's that good trouble we like being in. We like being in that good trouble.
So maybe they didn't want to do a dust up because they might not like the dust that they're dusting up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we are coming to an end of the show.
It seems like we just started, and there's so much more.
I know.
So much more to talk about. I do just want to say,
okay.
I really, really, really was pleased with the statement that Councilwoman Rouse made, not only in session, but out of session.
Mm-hmm.
And the question she asked of those voting against it, they've yet to truly answer.
Mm-hmm.
So it says a lot. We know that you voted for it for the last legislative package, but not for the upcoming one. So what changed? Other than this secret meeting that many of us, but nobody knows who, were in, and it was a lunch type meeting, I think they said. So who paid for the lunch?
Right.
If we want to talk about buying votes and that sort. Those are my concerns.
Okay. I agree 1000%. And that's why we do this show, GA for Justice. We want to make sure that if there's things out there that you haven't heard about and don't know about, hopefully we can open up your eyes, share a little wisdom, and, help to change outcomes. Why do we do this show? And reach out to our community, especially when there's so much stuff going on. We wanted a different voice on GA for Justice. We wanted a voice that wasn't a typical talking heads. Whatever they say on the national news, we just puppeted, even though we know that all of those guys are puppeting the same message. As soon as one say it, then the rest of them say the same thing. No background, no clarity to the audience. And so they repeat the same things over and over. And so people automatically assume that what they're saying has some value or some accuracy, when in fact, many times it doesn't. The Code of Virginia 24.2-311 says that whenever there's a decennial redistricting, these are the measures for elections following a decennial redistricting. The General Assembly districts required by Article 2, Section 6 of the Constitution of Virginia, they shall take effect immediately.
Did you say immediately?
Immediately.
Oh, immediately.
It didn't say it will take effect after the charter is signed. It didn't say it would take effect after
the Henley referendum.
It didn't say it's going to take effect after the Henley referendum. It didn't say it's going to take effect after the governor's veto. It didn't say it's going to take effect after we had all of these different lawsuits that came before us. It didn't say it's going to take effect after these people said, well, I don't like it. It said it will take effect immediately. The Constitution of Virginia says it shall take effect immediately. Not afterwards, not when you want it to, but immediately.
So maybe that is the confusion. Immediately means at once, instantly, without any intervening. Right then, right away, go.
Right now.
Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Immediately.
Right now. Exactly. So all of you, we're so glad that you were listening to us today. Ask you to share this far and wide, because there are other cities, other counties, other towns who may have similar situations when it comes to voting, and whether or not your town council, whether or not your city council members are interested in following the law of the land. And you notice that I've mentioned it several times. We're going to remind people you are elected to office. And however you got your seat, you still must follow the law of the land, because we're going to hold you accountable. We're going to teach our children and our grandchildren and those in our faith community that you don't have to run around like a chicken with your head cut off trying to do what other people are doing. You just need to follow the law of the land. If the law of the land says that this goes into effect immediately, that's what the law of the land says. Right now. Okay? Right now. So with that being said, I'm always glad to come to you each and every Thursday at 12 o'clock noon. Again, we are on all types of social media platforms. You can share far and wide. And I turn it back over to the one and only Henderson Vaughn, Captain 85, aka the Dream Maker. And thank you so much for opening up the airwaves so we can share with the listening audience today.
Yes, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. Most of all, I want to commend you two ladies for being so bringing so much informative information to the public, because like they said, the other people must be confused. And y'all have proven that today that no, we're not confused. We are well educated, Afro-American ladies. And this is the reason why I do this show as well, is so that the future generation can see all you have to do is learn to get a good education and be responsible, because you are responsible for the planet, and you get on the way you can be responsible. You have to see information of this nature when they are blocking all other history out of the books. So they can't block this, because
we got GA for justice. When they're blocking the other, we're right here.
Right. Once again, y'all been listening and watching GA for Justice, your community activist, Miss Georgia Allen, and her special guest, Bernice Richardson. I hope I said your name right, because I get tongue.
BERNITA.
Close enough.
BERNITA.
Just sidekick. I'm sidekick.
Oh, okay. All right then. I'm confused. It's coming out. I'm sorry. But nevertheless, we'll be back next week with another exciting show and GA for Justice guest. So don't forget to share this far and wide. And thank you once again for tuning in. And thanks, Jerome Porter, for watching on the other network that we're on. So I want to thank you again. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye. All right.
Then.